Hello, and welcome to WrestleRotica, the podcast that combines wrestling with erotica. This week we have one story to share with you. The story is entitled Havoc Fucking Machine. In this story, the newest TNA knockout, Havoc is trying to establish her place in the company when she is encountered by MVP, Kenny King, and World Champion Lashley. The three men quickly realize that they are no match for Havoc. Without further ado, let's get to this week's story. This story is entitled Havoc Fucking Machine. And it was written by Dax G 2001. Backstage at the taping of the edition of TNA Impact Wrestling, to be aired on the 3rd of September 2014, the fuming group of MVP, Kenny Kong, and the reigning TNA World Heavyweight Champion Lashley have returned after an in-ring confrontation and then attack on current X Division Champion Samoa Joe. All three handsome, muscular black studs are still in the attires they'd been seen in moments ago. MVP in a white suit with flashy shirt, King and Jeets in a stylish blue top, and Lashley in a casual style slack and zipped up top with shirt underneath combo. Who the hell does he think he is? MVP rants as the trio heads along. Does that fat-ass Samoan even know who he's messing with? Or who we are? Forget about him, man! That X Division title meant nothing as soon as it was robbed from me. King claims with a cocky tone and a smirk. He'll get his tonight, when our man right here takes care of it. Right, Lashley? Damn right! He says confidently, resting his TNA title on his shoulder. Last time some X Division champion faced me, I kicked his scrawny ass. I'll do the exact same tonight. Just then, the sound of clattering metal rings out to stop the group in their tracks. As out of a side room, a fearful-looking backstage worker rushes out. His clothes looking torn like he's been beaten up as he flees along the corridor. Seconds later, a metal folding chair comes flying out of the room and slamming into the wall. Stepping out of the room is the latest, highly anticipated member of the TNA Knockouts roster in the form of the gorgeous, but dangerous, and threatening woman simply known as Havoc. She's clad in dark black pants, with rips on the side that fit perfectly to her thick rounded ass, along with boots and pads, mesh covering her arms that runs under her long black top that nicely shows off her large chest, imposing makeup that runs a bar around her head and over her eyes, and topped off with her long raven hair, with dyed red tips. Fucking run, you pussy! Havoc screams as she glares at the direction her victim had fled to, before she turns around to spot the group of three hunks, making a sinister smile form on her face. You three, maybe you want to try and tell me what I should or shouldn't do around here, huh? Tell me, I should have laid out a couple of bitches out in the ring. The hell, girl? This some kind of Halloween come early or something? MVP demands as he's cautious about approaching the intimidated form he's seen in front of him. Hey, girl! I don't know about telling you what to do, but I know what you can do, Kenny says with a smirk, looking her over as he steps forward towards her with a swagger in his step. You can drop the mean act and get to making some noise back at my hotel room instead of ag. Before he can finish his pickup line, he's the one getting picked up. Instead, as she wraps a hand around his throat, glaring with rage at him as she hauls him up. The Havoc Death Machine is nothing like the other sluts around here, she yells, looking like she's going to choke slam him, as MVP and Lashley have to rush forward to break the grip, saving King as Lashley uses his power to force Havoc into the room she's come out of. You need to settle down, Lashley warns, getting face to face with her as they stand in what looks to have been a locker room that's been a victim of a tornado going through it, with the broken benches and lockers around it. Because myself and my boys here are not the kind of guys you want to mess with. Letting out a wild laugh. Havoc meets his look with an intense glance of her own. No, you don't know who you're fucking with. I'm here to tear the Knockouts division apart, and then the rest of TNA with it. And if that means going through your champ, I'll gladly do it. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Back the hell up, both of you. MVP demands as he steps in, while behind them Kenny is still rubbing his throat. There ain't no need for fighting all up in here. Besides, my man Lashley here has an important main event match to prepare for. We ain't got time to mess with some, whatever the hell you think you are. Yeah. Besides, some chick like this, bet she's never been with a man before. Let alone been in a real wrestling company like TNA. King snaps, but is clearly keeping a distance away from her. Turning her head, she casts another threatening stare at King to further unsettle him. I eat little punks like you for breakfast. And I doubt some scrawny little man like you is packing anything that would impress me anyways. That's bullshit! Tell him, MVP! Kenny yells, still keeping his distance. The hell would I know? I don't stare at your junk all damn day. MVP fires back at his ally. Sounds to me like you're damn sure of yourself. Lashley says, smirking slightly as he looks the newest knockout ever. Fucking right I am, and I can back it up. She responds, ticking her teeth sinfully. If you three think you're man enough, then try to outlast the Havoc fucking machine. Because I've never met a man, or a bunch of men, yet that can handle me. She boldly states, as she casts a glance at all three hunks. Shit! If she just wants to fuck the best thing going in TNA, then I'll show her exactly what all the knockouts have been dreaming of since I came here. King arrogantly claims, smirking as he starts to lift his top up to show off his nicely muscular body. Hell! I'm game! In the VIP lounge or here in TNA. The half man, half amazing, always delivers. MVP says, slipping his suit jacket off as he also begins to undress. Smirking, Havoc watches with her arms folded under her rounded chest as she watches the three muscular wrestlers show off their athletic bodies, and a smirk appears on her intimidating yet gorgeous face when she sees that each man is packing a fat and long cock. Looks like this might be a little worth my time after all, she says as the three naked hunks approach her. You better make this good, Havoc, because I need a decent enough warm-up before my main event tonight. Lashley says with a confident smirk, his dick hardening, as are the others of his fellow TNA wrestlers, as they stand in front of the newest TNA knockout. We'll see if you can at least challenge me. The dangerous beauty states, as she willingly lowers herself to her knees in front of the three hung black studs. A defiant smirk on her face as she grips the lengths of Lashley and King to tightly grip them, going right into a harsh, speedy stroking motion to jerk them off. Licking her teeth, she brings her head down towards MVP's cock in order to take him into her mouth, making him groan and hiss when she captures his tool between her teeth for a tense moment, only to properly take him in, rocking her long, dark, with blood-red ends, haired head back and forth. She doesn't hold back as she begins to blow him, taking at least half of his impressive size in and out of her mouth, and already proving them wrong, as she shows skill already in blowing one of them, while swiftly stroking the other two at the same time. Ah! Shit! I told you! Chicks can't get enough of me! King claims smirking, as he thinks this is all going his and his buddy's way, even though he's caught in the strong grip of the stunning powerhouse who's moving her hand quickly and steadily, back and forth along its nicely thick inches, while doing the same motion to the hunk at her other side. Fuck! Ease it up, girl! We got plenty of time to enjoy this! He hisses, feeling her palm squeeze his rod to make him groan in a mix of pleasure and pain before she resumes stroking him off, while still bobbing her head along the shaft in front of her, showing no intimidation either from the vast size of their big dicks or being outnumbered by the three sports entertainment hunks. Damn, Havoc! Guess you ain't no virgin after all! The handsome but arrogant MVP comments, moaning and seemingly impressed by how easily the white female wrestler kneeling in front of him is blowing his lengthy black cock, already leaving saliva over his inches from the repeated, quick and forceful motion. Hearing that comment makes her narrow her eyes at him, deliberately applying her teeth to his manhood, before slowly, punishingly dragging them up to the head of his tool, to make them groan out before wickedly going back to sucking him off. Ah! Fuck! Wash the fucking teeth, girl! He almost whines, letting himself be blown a couple more times before, out of fear of getting hurt again by the strong and sexy knockout, he steps back, causing her to smirk again as she strokes the two black cocks in her hands before turning her head towards King, but he jumps back. Also intimidated by the sinister siren, Havoc clearly heard what his friend had just suffered. I'm still here, Havoc, so let's see what you got. Lashley sits with a cold look at her, his arms over his muscular chest as she turns to directly face him, smirking up darkly as she teases with the swatting of her tongue across his bell end, before placing her hands on his waist and sinking her mouth down onto his tool with a commanding push. He groans, watching her face lower down to over the halfway point before lifting smoothly back up towards the crown, only to race down forcefully as the former two-time WSU champion briskly blows the reigning TNA World Champion. Ah! Not too damn bad at all! He states, smiling a little in approval, as he perhaps wisely lets her have her way with his long shaft. Watching as she steadily sucks him off, her strong hands gripping his body as she puts plenty of effort behind the motion of her head, keeping her lips wrapped tightly around him so they grind back and forth along his thighs. Meanwhile, as she focuses on controlling the pace with her clearly talented and experienced mouth, the other two men come up behind and start to lower her tight, ripped, designed pants down her legs, revealing her thick and juicy ass, along with a trim snatch that already appears to be wet. But the woman, being undressed, doesn't even respond to their actions, continuing to suck on the cock right in front of her. The Havoc Death Machine groans in sinful delight as she takes Lashley's dick deep into her oral hole, not gagging at all as she swiftly goes to work on him and moans herself like she's getting off on putting him in his place, seeing him moan and be practically controlled by her top-notch cocksucking ability that's left his rod coated with her spit. Filling her riot-style knee pads and boots being unclipped, she gives the dick she's been blowing one last long suck before she lifts her head away to glare back at the men behind her. You couple of pussies actually gonna do something back there? Or what? Havoc demands with a yell. Startled by the yell, MVP shoves King slightly towards the imposing knockout. Ah, hell no, man! You're the so-called brains of this. You get a piece of her. King responds, shooting his teammate an almost pleading look. This is why I'm the champion around here. I get things done. Lashley states with a cocky smirk, stepping around her as she finishes the job the other guys were afraid to, ditching her lower clothing and tossing it aside. At least one of you has some fucking balls! Havoc says, laughing somewhat psychotically as she moves to get onto her hands and knees on the locker room floor, before turning her attention towards the two others involved in the sexual encounter. Unlike you two cowards! Now one of you, hurry up and start fucking my mouth before I come over there and use my teeth properly on you both. She threatens with a sinister glint in her eye. Alright, just no damn teeth this time, okay? MVP states, holding his hands up to try and call a truce as he comes over, just as his ally Ashley gets in position behind her and pushes his dick into her snatch, causing them both to moan as he fills up her tight and already wet pussy. Seeing his chance, he boldly pushes his cock into her open mouth, closing his eyes to brace himself for the worst as she starts to work his hips, moving his length back and forth into her oral hole. Shit! Okay, I can work with this! The former WWE United States Champion says between moans, finally looking down to see the intense glare of the intimidating but beautiful knockout staring back at him, daring him to bring it as he firmly pumps his cock into her mouth, as she's banged from behind at the same time. Damn right we can work with this. The first African American to hold the TNA World Championship moans, remarking about how great the tight cunt of the imposing stunner feels all around his cock, as he thrusts into her with a series of stiff and forceful pumps, knowing full well that she can take some hard-hitting action. Shit! That's one hell of a great pussy! He groans, gripping her strong thighs, as she wickedly pushes herself sharply to meet his thrust, her thick white ass smacking back hard into his sturdy frame, to ensure every inch of his black cock is stuffed into her snatch. The sexy slap of skin meeting skin ringing out along with her moans, although hers are muffled by the equally lengthy black member she's sucking off at the same time. The talented Defiance, Ohio native groans wickedly as she spit roasts herself between two former WWE superstars, taking the stiff and steadily paced face fucking from the Florida cock that's in front of her, while feeling the Denver, Colorado cock going balls deep into her snatch from behind, resulting in her skillfully rocking her curvaceous but imposing frame between the two moaning hunks. She continues to control the pace, her sharp movements backward making the man behind pick up the pace to drive into her with more force, only causing her to moan out in approval around the dick that's being pumped in and out of her oral hole, going so deep that she's almost having to deep throat him, but she doesn't gag at all when he drives himself into her. Out of the corner of her eye, she can see the third man involved in this coming back over, making her cast a narrow-eyed and unimpressed look as he moves behind her. So she continues to forcefully move himself between the two hunks she's currently taking the lengthy shafts off, more than proving her ability to be able to handle them. Only natural that the pretty boy Pitbull does things doggy style. The arrogant but desirable King states, moving into position behind her when Lashley pulls out and steps back, but soon finds himself groans when she harshly pushes back to take all his inches in with the one motion, forcing him to quickly start thrusting into her with a sharp series of pumps. Fuck! Shit! You trying to, break me in half, girl? He somewhat whines, feeling the sting as her juicy ass slaps back into his muscular frame, as it becomes clear that he can't quite deliver the same amount of power behind his pumps as Ashley did to satisfy her cravings, leaving him almost holding onto her for his life as he grips her waist and ramps his shaft into her tightness. Even with her mouth being filled up with thick cock, her wicked laugh can still be heard, as it's obvious she's getting off on the fact she's got full control over the two hunks. Slamming her stunning body back hard to take one dick, balls deep into her wet and snug snatch, while taking a face fucking better than many a seasoned porn star ever could at the same time. Rocking back and forth between the two, the dominating beauty seems to be fueled by their groans and by how she's controlling things, even as her saliva trickles down her chin and off the cock being ran back and forth into her mouth. And all the while, having her snatch filled up by an equally lengthy and thick to match member. I think she enjoyed it more when I was fucking her, Kenny.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Lashley remarks as she stands and watching the scene in front of her, as the newest TNA knockout is commanding things all too easily, as she takes a dick in both ends. The slap of skin meeting skin ringing out each time as she harshly pushes her curvy yet devious frame back against King's attempts to pound into her snatch. I know none of you are on my level, but it seems you and MVP aren't even on hers. He adds with a chuckle, remarking that she's able to effortlessly move herself back and forth between the two fat black cocks that are filling up her snatch and mouth as the partially clothed white stunner is practically fucking herself on their lengths, even as they both swiftly slam their dicks in and out of her holes. Hell no! I'm just, getting started on this chick. MVP claims with a gasp, pulling his now covered with saliva cock out of her mouth. She's just on that beginner's luck trip. That's all. He claims, even as sweat has clearly formed on his forehead, as he takes a seat on a folding chair in the locker room. Bullshit! You're, just like all the rest! Havoc says, smirking sinisterly, as she pushes herself back roughly against the thrust being given to her from behind. You're fall victim to the Havoc death machine. Y'all need to loosen up, girl, if you ask me. Kenny states, pulling his dick out of her snatch and quickly scooting back from her, giving himself a chance to catch his breath as she shows the effects of her intensity. Pathetic weaklings! This is why I'm redefining what it means to be a knockout. She snaps with a yell, standing up and pulling her black top over her head, leaving her in ripped, mesh-like covering that's across her arms, and over her now revealed large breast.
Titty master! Titty master! Titty master!
Reaching over, she forcefully grabs King by the wrist, making him cry out in pain as with shocking ease, she whips him across the room, making him collide into MVP to send them both tumbling over the chair and down to the floor. Do as I say, and I won't hurt you. That much. Motioning with a twisted smile for Lashley to follow. Perhaps a show of appreciation for his previously powerful fucking of her. The stunning but sinister beauty storms over, not letting MVP off from the floor as she mounts him, slamming herself down hard to take his cock into her wet snatch. And hearing him groan out when she hits his base makes her laugh loudly and wickedly. Men, women, it's all too easy for me to destroy. She states, not letting King escape either when he stumbles up, pulling him close by the arm so she can grab a handful of his cock, turning her long, dark with red ends haired head towards him, and taking him into her mouth once again as she begins to bounce herself, lifting her snatch up a few inches before dropping straight down as she simultaneously blows another lengthy piece of man meat. When my MMA team said I was crazy to go work for TNA, I didn't know it was a requirement. Lashley says under his breath, approaching the other desirable sports entertainers now holding a bottle of sex lube he picked up while Havoc was establishing another dominating pace to bounce up and down on the dick underneath her, while bobbing her head briskly along another with her wickedly hungry mouth. Let's see if you can handle this kind of action, he says properly, moving down to take advantage of her squatting position as he pours some lubricant out onto his finger before working it over and then into her tight-filling asshole, making her groan apparent lust as she casts a brief, approving glance over towards him as the reigning TNA World Champion starts to firmly pump his finger into her backside. Ah, fuck! God damn! The former WWE, United States, and Tag Team Champion groans out in a mix of pleasure and pain from her wet and sinful snatch, and how roughly she's moving her imposing, yet curvaceous frame sharply up and down on his stiff rod, feeling the sting of her body, smacking into his muscular frame as he's pinned down on the floor underneath the former WSU champion. Ah! Where the fuck did they find this chick? He's able to groan out his question, his thick black member lodged deep up inside her slick and still snug cunt as she swiftly and forcefully rides him and sucks off another just as long black cock with swift and deep motions. Her nicely rounded white tits bouncing in time with the dominating motion her body is doing as she works herself against both desirable hunks with the sinful base, while having her ass lubed up at the same time. Ah! Just tell me, so I know never to go there, the former ROH World Tag Team Champion says, gritting his teeth as he watches the long, raven-haired head of the former WSU Tag Champion rapidly move back and forth along his tool, a more than ample layer of saliva being left over his inches as she gobbles him up with her talented and wicked oral hole. Shit! Ah! He groans again in a mix of pleasure from how expertly, deeply, and quickly she's sucking this man's meat, and the rough way she's moving her mouth back and forth along that meaty pole, her chin connecting against his balls when she drives her gorgeous face down into his crotch as her saliva drips from off of his rod from the repeated, feverish motion. The dominating but gorgeous female wrestler groans sinisterly around the cock she's blowing as she swiftly drops herself hard onto the groaning hunk underneath her, taking his shaft balls deep up into her wet but tight snatch as she forcefully rides him, at the same time having her ass finger banged as the stud behind her lubes up her back passage. While she's made all the desirable and muscular black studs around her sweat noticeably from her almost violent, intense pace, her sinfully curved white body has only a light layer, making her unique eye makeup be smeared as she continues to work herself between the two fat dicks she's taking into her mouth, and pussy as well as the finger being used to work lube deeply into her juicy ass. After delivering another couple of balls deep sucks, she lifts her head up and away from the king, who quickly moves back to catch his breath. You better not be wussing that on me, motherfucker! She groans, causing a glare back at Lashley as he pulls his finger out from her lubed up ass. How about I show you why I'm the world champion around here? Lashley states, showing off his impressive strength as he steps forward to hook her under the arms, lifting her right off a now grateful MVP as he impels her snatch first onto his cock. Fuck! Havoc moans, tossing her long hair back as she grits her teeth, willingly wrapping her powerful legs around his waist as she grips his shoulders. Let's see what you're fucking made of! She dares him, licking her teeth as she glares at him. Damn! I better tap that ass before she tries to kick mine, Kenny states as he pours some lube onto his cock, stroking it over his member as he approaches the other two. Ah! Harder, motherfucker! Come on! Challenge me! The self-proclaimed Havoc Death Machine moans out, bouncing her body roughly on the hard thrust being sent up into her still snug but very wet now snatch. Her big tits now rubbing against the muscular chest of the hunk, holding her completely up and off the ground as he slams his shaft straight up into her pussy as she rides that thick, black cock that's driving hard into her snatch. She looks behind her as King steps up to spread her thick, white ass cheeks apart to push his own lengthy black tool up into her asshole. Now you pricks have, finally got this started! She groans, licking her lips as she lets out a wild scream, feeling the two big dicks now pumping into her tight ass and wet pussy at the same time, filling her lower holes up with man meat as she impressively continues to drop herself swiftly and repeatedly on their meaty rods with the kind of pace that would render a normal woman unable to walk properly for well over a week. Damn it! Shit! The former X Division champion grunts as he works his member up into her very tight backside, his fingers gripping into her more than ample booty as he thrusts steadily between them, feeling the pleasure of that snug back passage all around his tool as he formally works himself up into her ass from behind. Nothing like a big white ass, even if this chick is out of her mind, he adds between groans, feeling the friction of sliding his cock gradually deeper up into her backside, even with all the prior lubing done. Her intense bouncing on the other big dick that's plowing up into her making that juicy rump slam down towards him, making his shaft pump up further, still into her rump. That feels built to take many a hard, deep fucking. Ah, fuck! This is what I'm talking about! Their grappler currently, the heavyweight champion, in both mixed martial arts and sports entertainment promotion modes, keeping a strong grip on the intimidating but gorgeous TNA knockout as he deeply raises his shaft up into her snatch with thrust after hard and swift thrust as she rides away onto his and the other cock stuffing her holes. Finally a woman! Who can handle a fucking unlike my damn last wife. He adds matching the intensity and force of her bounces on his tool by harshly slamming his cock up into her, dripping wet, but still pleasurably snug pussy. His heavy ball smacking up into her skin each time he drives up to meet her swift, dropping motions down onto his stool, causing them both to moan out sinfully. While the equally hung and handsome stud behind her keeps on pumping his dick into her ass. Yo, tag out, kid! I'll show this crazy chick how we handle an ass in the VIP lounge! MVP boasts, finishing off rubbing the lube over his manhood as King pulls out and steps back. This allows him to now stuff his long, black cock up into the dominating beauty's juicy white ass. And while he's able to push in deep thanks to the prior pumping she's taken, she now groans at the tight sensation all around his inches as she bounces away on him and the other black stud she's sandwiched between.
Remember Jared from Subway? He's inspired a lot of people.
He's looking good.
Ah, fuck! You don't get an ass like this. Down in the clubs in the 305. He groans as he pounds his shaft off with a forceful, stiff pace into the thick booty that's been dropped sharply towards him as she focuses her hand riding rhythm onto the dick that's stuffing her snatch full. But there's no doubt the thrust into both of these tight holes are having an effect on the stunning powerhouse as she moans out and continues to bounce between them. Fuck! You don't get anything like me anywhere. The former leader of the Midwest militia stable screams out, sweat coating her curvaceous, dominating body as she seems relentless in her harsh, riding motion on the fat cocks being rammed up into her wet snatch, and thick ass as she's held right off the floor by the two muscular former WWE superstars. I'm so fucking redefining what a knockout is. Now shut up! And fucking fuck me! She moans out, her large tits bouncing away as she keeps his pace up like a woman possessed, groaning with twisted pleasure each time she drops down hard onto the deep pumps of the cocks, sliding quickly back and forth into both her ass and her pussy. Putting on a performance more expected of a veteran porn star than a talented female wrestler. Shit! If this psycho wants to be fucked so bad, how about we all go in? King suggests as he watches on, although from the sounds of things, he doesn't appear too eager to get back into the action against her. There's 3 of us, and 3 holes in her.
I love math.
Hearing that, she suddenly stops her riding motion to look over with a devilish grin as she licks her lips. Took you long enough to think of a good fucking idea! Havoc states, unwrapping her legs as she's set down to stand up and caught like a deer in the headlights. She grabs Kenny to send him back down onto his back on the floor. Dumbass had to open his mouth. MVP shakes his head, cautiously approaching them as the imposing female mounts herself to take King's cock into her snatch, all the way to the base. Hope you two left something of that ass of hers left for me, Lashley says, picking up the bottle of lube so he can pour the liquid onto his rod as he approaches the other TNA stars. The gorgeous but imposing knockout groans around the dick of MVP as he pushes his tool that's just been stuffed right up her ass deep into her mouth. But she's soon briskly bobbing her head along his sides, shameless, engaging, and ass to mouth while rocking sharply on the king as she keeps him pinned down with hands on his chest, leaving him little choice but to thrust up into her snatch. Once again, her ass cheeks are spread as Lashley drives his dick forward into her thick backside, making her glance back with a look of dark desire as she now starts to properly work her already sweat-covered body between the three muscular hung studs as she handles their cocks in each of her already more than just well-fucked holes. Ah! Shit! Ah! Ah! Fuck! Ah! Underneath the former WS Spirit Champion, the former TNA X Division Champion can only pump his throbbing dick upwards into the snatch of the violent yet gorgeous grappler as she rides his cock with a hard and fast pace, at the same time pushing her ass back against the thrust into her asshole supplied by the man behind her. Holy fuck! Ah! Ah! He groans out, hissing as he feels her nails sinfully raking across his muscular chest as she rocks herself back and forth on top of him, keeping her dripping wet, yet still nicely snug pussy moving over his inches as she's taking an ass fucking from behind and keeps sucking off another cock at the same time, ensuring her dominance over them is absolute as she commands this wild, primal pace. Ah, shit! Ah! Ah! Oh, fuck! The man who once held the WWE, United States, and tag team titles at the same time moans, watching in awe as his fat length vanishes up into the wickedly warm and damp mouth of the powerhouse who is handling three cocks at the same time and making it look like a walk in the park. Yay! As she sucks away deeply onto his man meat. Ah! She says she's gonna fuck! Fuck some bitches up around here! Ah! I'm gonna fucking believe her! He's able to gasp out, feeling his dick pulsating deep within her mouth as she quickly and smoothly raises and lowers her long, dark with dyed red ends haired head along his entire length, leaving him coated with her saliva from the repeated motion as she stares intensely up at him, for nothing else but to further enjoy the intimidation she has over not just him, but the other TNA performers she's taken the cock of in this rough locker room fucking encounter. Ah, yeah! Ah! What a fucking ass! Ah! The former two-time champion of the WWE's ECW brand moans as he rams his thick, black cock into the juicy, rounded white ass of the powerful stunner in front of him as she pushes back sharply to meet his stiff bumps, at the same time working herself to take the other two lengthy black dicks into her snatch and mouth as well. Ah! Ah! Fucking ass now! Ah! And I'll be kicking it later on! He adds, grunting, as her thick butt cheeks smack back into his sweat-coated, muscular frame to leave a sting of pain from her intense rocking motion. But the sensations of being deep inside her still, tight, keeps the pleasure coming as he keeps able to keep up with her forceful, to say the least, desires as she continues to work herself between the three groaning studs. The talented, imposing beauty, formerly known as Jessica Havoc, continues to let out muffled moans of twisted pleasure as she moves her sweat-covered and nicely curved body back and forth against the thrust, deeply going into her snatch and ass, while still sucking away on the other, just as long and thick to match dick. She groans out, her threatening eye makeup completely running from the perspiration all over her face, but she's too caught up in both her own dark lust and thrill of dominating three handsome, muscular, and more than just well-hung men, as she all too easily handles their lengths deep into her oral and lower holes time and time again. Ah! Fuck! Shit! Ah! Fuck! There's little surprise in the fact that this kind of intense, hard fucking pace has taken its toll on all involved.
Oh yeah!
And for Kenny King, the repeated harsh riding on his length becomes too much as he blows his load up into Havoc's pussy, making her groan and glance down with the sinister, satisfied look in her eyes. Ah! Oh, fuck! She stays dropped onto him, grinding her pussy down and forcing him to splatter her insides with every shot of cum. Her body still rocking as she takes deep pumps into her ass from behind at the same time, but make sure to keep King pressed down until she can feel his cock start to go limp inside of her soaking wet and now jizz-filled cunt. Ah, fuck! Gonna bust! Oh, shit! Now it's the turn of MVP to be forced to reach his limit. The hungry sucking on his fat, throbbing cock making him shoot thick streams of cum into Havoc's mouth as she now turns that pleased yet sinful stare up at him, not relenting on that blowing motion as she feels her mouth filling out with jizz. Ah, fuck! God damn it! Ah! He groans out as he's milked dry by her expert blowing motion as she further proves a point, waiting until the last drops are sent out into her before she lifts her head away, tossing her long dark hair back as she swallows down all that spunk just because she can, and then lets out a rather evil laugh. In satisfaction from having finished off another man and making it look easy. Just as she shifts herself up to roll the spent king away from underneath her, she finds herself moaning when she's pulled sharply back by the waist as Lashley, while filling his cock throbbing deep with her tight back passage, isn't yet planning to give things up yet, as he steadily and eagerly pounds his fat, black cock forward into her rounded and juicy white ass. Ah! Oh, yes! Motherfucker! Fuck my ass! She demands with an almost crazed scream, her large tits hanging down and swaying as she takes this ass fucking doggy style. Now, but impressively, continues to push back to meet every deep thrust into her, gritting her teeth as she's as determined to prove a point to the muscular stud as she was when she took on 3 of them at the same time. Give it to me! She moans out shamelessly, her ass cheeks jiggling when they connect back sharply into his body, when she drives back to meet him thrusting into her still pleasurably tight asshole, gazing back with another intense glare as sweat drips off her gorgeous but intimidating face, as her eye makeup streaks down her cheeks. Ah! Fuck! Shit! The first African American to be the ECW champion and TNA World Champion grunts as he grips the desirably curved and powerful built frame of the devastating knockout on her hands and knees in front of him, as he delivers thrust after hard-hitting thrust straight into her juicy backside. Neither of them have noticed, or perhaps would care, that the other 2 men who'd been involved in this have gotten hastily dressed and have left the locker room, leaving the remaining stud to slam his big, fat black cock in and out of the full and rounded white ass that's being slammed back just as hard as she thrust he's sending into her are. Ah! Ah! Fuck! His cock continues to throb, and sweat pours off his chiseled muscular body as he keeps his hips rocking back and forth, ramming his shaft into her snug asshole, so the erotic slap of skin meeting skin sound out each time the 2 TNA stars connect, as her ass slaps back into his crotch, as they both try to outlast the other, in the hard, swift, anal sex. Ah! Ah! Fuck! Ah! Fuck! Ugh! The sign of victory finally arrives as Lashley lets out a deep, animalistic groan and fires the first blast of jizz inside of the juicy ass of Havoc, in turn making her groan and look back with a sinister, proud smile as she keep on slamming back to make sure his cum is sent right forward into her rump. Ah! Ugh! Oh, shit! Ah! He groans, thrusting forward each time his dick shoots a thick stream of cum into her, making sure to both get every drop of his sizable load out into her, as well as send it in as far into the stunning but intimidating knockout as she can, aided by her still forceful motions back to meet him as she successfully dominated the final hunk who came the closest to out-fucking her. Yes! The Havoc Death Machine! Claims another victim! Havoc says with a groan and a dark grin, feeling his spent cock being pulled out of her now slightly gaping and certainly well-fucked asshole. Fuck! That was a better warm-up than I was expecting! Lashley says, wiping sweat away from his forehead as he stands up. Licking her teeth, she also gets up to her feet as she tosses her long hair back. You at least had the fucking balls to stick around, unlike those other pussies, she states, narrowing her eyes slightly. Well, that's why I did what neither of them could do. Become the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. And I'll prove that I'm the man around here again when I kick that fat ass of Joe's around the ring tonight. He adds with an arrogant smile. I think you'd fucking better, because I'm not going anywhere. Havoc states with a sinister smile. So if you lose, I'll show you why I'm the fucking Havoc Death Machine. But if you win? You mean when I win? Lashley smirks back as he folds his arms over his chest. She looks over him as she slowly licks her teeth. You might get another taste of the Havoc fucking machine again. The end. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of WrestleRotica. We hope that you enjoyed this week's story. If you enjoyed this week's story, please be sure to like, review, and subscribe to us in iTunes. Visit us elsewhere online, including Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, and as always, our official website, WrestleRoticapod.com. Thank you and have a good week.